out. I actually found this drawing on Wikipedia, which is really informative about orthographic projections. So basically there are different types of isometric drawings, like the ones that you see here: diametric, trimetric, oblique, and isometric. Most of the time these isometrics are also called axonometric. They're kind of a family of drawings, right? And the idea is that this is still a parallel projection drawing. So what do we mean by parallel projection? It means that the measurements of the model are not distorted. So every geometry that we are seeing are kind of projected onto the view plane in parallel mode, so that we get the actual perpendicular outlines, right? So I try to like visualize it here. So think of like these dots as the viewer. So let's say this is you looking at a cube. Does everybody see this part? Looking at the cube. So when it's perspectival projection, the lines are projected to the viewer, and this is actually the viewport, the kind of view you're getting of the object, right? So when these are projected onto that plane, the object gets distorted. So that's how we get vanishing points, and the thing actually like goes away. If an object is further behind, it goes away from our view, so its dimensions actually do shrink, right? So that's why it's called perspectival, because there's some depth embedded in it. But when it's in parallel projection, we actually don't converge these geometry edges to the viewer. We instead project them in parallel, or let's say perpendicularly to the viewport. So this is the view plane, and we just draft them as is. So that's how you don't get any distortion, and you will actually get the same measurement for these edges, right? So think of isometric drawings as kind of similar. So different types of ISOs depend on the type of angles you're drafting your objects. So in general, these could be like 30, 120. That's kind of a standard. What will be the practical application to do this? It will be to kind of give an overall three-dimensional information about an object.
Why would that be preferred from perspective or isometric?
That's a good question, because this will actually don't distort the geometry. So in perspectival view, you may want to show a view from a specific angle, like let's say an entrance view, right? When somebody's approaching the project, what are they going to see? So that's why you will do a perspectival drawing, because that will be the first person experience from a specific point looking at the project. But instead, this will be kind of a hybrid orthographic drawing where you're actually connecting multiple elevations together and showing a three-dimensional outline of the object, right? So a lot of engineering drawings are done using isometric drawings. So like part drawings, they're normally shown in ISO mode. So I will also show you one or two of them. So they basically have dimensions on them, as well as like showing multiple size, multiple pieces, how they're joined together. So it kind of conveys the information, overall information of the geometry. And in this view, I actually didn't read about this, but I think the orientation or the different angles depend on what type of information you want to bring or talk about the project or show about the project. So if you look up here, the oblique has these angles, so 135, 135, 90. So the plan is actually at a more acute angle, which means it's more planimetric drawing. So you will show more information about the plan on that drawing. When it's an isometric drawing like this, the angles are equal. It gives equal emphasis on all those three sides of the project. Yeah?
Would you draw something in the oblique manner, like that would be three-dimensionally, so you can see any of those elements inside, you could remove some of the top elements so that you can see inside?
Absolutely, that's a good point. So you will draw obliques, like cut out obliques most of the time, to show more like plan wall configuration, but the emphasis will be more on the plan because you're seeing more of the plan than the wall facades, right? So wall surfaces. So the angle, the view angle, actually is tilted or oriented towards the information you want to talk about or show. So in oblique, since the plan is more acute, you show more of the plan compared to the walls. But in isometric drawing, the emphasis is more equally distributed. So you're showing as much information or emphasis on these faces as well as the plan, right? So it's more of an overall general outline for drawing orientation. So what would be in the diametric, you think? So if you look at the diametrics, the 150 is aligned to the plan, right? So we are seeing plan really, really like small. So even if you had too many divisions or information on the plan, you won't be able to show them clearly. So in a diametric view, the emphasis will be more on the facades because you're showing them more clearly, right? And in these oblique views, the information is again mostly on the plan and roof, right? So I think that's kind of the logic. But when you make them equal, like an isometric drawing, the emphasis is equally distributed. So it's like a overall geometry drawing or part drawing. Now I also have a few other slides that talks about these. So this is kind of an isometric drawing again. This is the plan oblique. I mean, think of like having windows here. Still, the main information you want to convey is the plan, right? So it says plan views can be utilized as base drawings. So that's what the information we want to talk about. Here's kind of a comparison of these drawings. Perspective, isometric, and axonometric. Again, most of the time the difference between isometric and axonometric is the angles. Whereas in perspectival drawings, there's a vanishing point. So the drawing dimensions are actually being distorted, right? Huh? Let me see. There are different types. So I think this would be 45, 45, 90. Isometric will be 31, 20, 30. And don't worry about it. Like in Rhino, we're just going to use the default isometric viewport to kind of set our drawing. But this is kind of the overall information. And you can see the comparison here again, right? Axonometric is more closer to being a plan oblique. So you will see more of the plan compared to isometric, which gives equal emphasis to the surfaces. And it basically combines multiple of these information, right? So side elevation and front elevation are combined. Of course, we're not showing the floor plan, but we're showing more of the roof. And I also wanted to show you some drawings where these are used. So this was a studio run by Jennifer Bonner last year for the sophomore year. And students did these kind of assemblage drawings using axonometric views. And they were also just using black and white shading and highlighting. So in this case, they were using black to highlight some major parts or elements of the view. And also look at the way line weights are used. Line weights are mostly used to outline the overall boundaries of geometries, right? To kind of differentiate this thing from the rest. And the inner surfaces, inner lines are basically lighter than the outer lines. Yeah. Yes. So you wouldn't necessarily do line weights in a perspectival drawing. Perspectival drawings are like renderings of a project, right? So it's like a visualization. What's like the view a person is going to see in a room, or kind of an approach to a building. Maybe you have, like, let's say, a main feature, and you want to actually, when you're talking about it, you want to have a view that refers to it, right? So you're going to say, like, when people are approaching from this way, this is what they're going to see. They're going to see this wall, which is my main element, and you want to actually render that, right? So you want to show, like, what they're going to see actually, and that's kind of how we use renderings. And in those, it's more, the idea is more about making it as realistic as possible, so that you can, like, show it to your client and kind of give them an idea about what it's going to look like when the building is built. But in these are more about information. Like you could consider them as like hybrid drawings, like hybrid orthographic drawings, right? It's you're bringing together plan, elevation, information, and then showing overall geometry. Like in these are like spaces, rooms, and the drawings kind of give that idea. So the black is used to highlight main features. So in this case, it's the interior surfaces of the walls. right? Or these type of hatches. I'm going to show you a bunch of these so that you can kind of see how they're used. So you can see they're also angles set underneath. So axon 120 is basically the angle the view is oriented, how much it is tilted, right? So some of them highlight column structure elements, some of them highlight wall surfaces, orientation. So in this case, these surfaces that face this way. Here's another one. Again, here, this is the outer walls. And you can also do stuff like this. Basically, you can show hidden geometry, right? So we have a surface here that is upper level, but you want to show that there's actually something underneath or behind that is hidden, and you can use hidden lines to do that. And again, line weight wise, like actual outlines of a geometry could be thicker than details like stairs, for instance, right? Because this is also like secondary to the surfaces or main planes. Here's another one. I also have other drawings like part drawings. So if you look at here, it's kind of a similar idea, right? The outline of the geometry is highlighted with thick line weights and inner details are thinner. Normally, isometrics are also used with orthographic drawings. So in this case, as we were talking about, so this is kind of a plan drawing. And this is how it becomes an axonometric drawing, right? And this is the elevation. So you see this elevation here, and the plan kind of aligned here, right? So you can see how they are related to each other. Or in this one. So this is a plan oriented in the same view as the axon, and these are basically extruded or modeled in 3D. So you can see how they are related. This is another one. So we're going to do like stuff like that looks like this a bit. So the ground is pochade, so you kind of give an idea about a section of the landscape, and you kind of show the outlining geometry and the surfaces, right? So in this case, the walkable surfaces are like hatched with a pattern, and the surface is kind of differentiated, right? So these are kind of the roof configuration. This is actually another type of drawing. This is called exploded drawing, but it also uses the same idea. So it's kind of how parts are assembled within the whole. So this is how they're joined together, and this is how they are juxtaposed, right? So we use dotted lines to show how they actually come together. Here's another one showing also shadows. I have a bunch of other ones I'm just going to go over. So this is kind of another exploded drawing that shows you parts of something. So it's basically, you can have a plan drawing, but this gives more information, right? It also shows you the heights of the walls, how big the spaces are, furniture, how they are looking, and maybe there are some elements on the walls as well, like opening surfaces, ramps. So in this case, this drawing is more powerful than just a plan drawing because it also shows you the different heights of the levels and how they're connected. This is another exploded drawing. It's basically showing you two things that are juxtaposed. But again, the usage of black is really striking in these drawings. So it's kind of like stylizing. That's actually what I have. I just want to talk to you overall about what these drawings are and kind of give you a sense of for the visual style. So basically, when you're doing a black and white drawing, most of the time, there are only certain things you could use. You could use hatches, you could use shades, and line weights, right? So you need to also think about how to use them. So line weights, in axonometric drawings, they go from the outer geometry to the inner geometry, inner details. So the outer geometries are highlighted with thicker lines, and inner details like stairs, hatches are thinner line weights. Shades are normally used to highlight features, like let's say shadows. In this case, black is used to highlight shadows, as well as I showed before, like these drawings. You can also use certain shades to highlight specific walls that are facing same directions or have similar type of orientation, right? So in this case, the black surfaces are kind of giving you the outer skin of some space. So you can also highlight them in this fashion. Or you could also use hatches or parallel lines, right? So in this case, these are some hatches. Any other overall questions? Okay. It's an outline for the line drawings, something like this. And the main important thing in these drawings is to draft all the lines of the actual project you have, right? And then have the site kind of, like for instance, this building is interfering with the information I had, so I had to do this separately and then juxtapose it here so that I can still get geometries of my site, and I'll show you how you can do that. So the point is to orient this view to the sheet and to the size we want to draw it, and then get all these lines and clean it up as well, because sometimes you may not get the outlines, and you may want to do it before you bring this drawing into Illustrator, because you want clear line geometries, because we want to get some of these surfaces to edit afterwards. And then we're going to take it and then apply some line weights and styles. So basically, what I was saying, the outlining geometries will be thicker. So in this case, the overall outline of this wall, the outer lines of this wall, will be thicker, and these inner corner lines will be thinner to highlight these elements. And then also you can do the same thing for these openings. So this surface could be highlighted with thicker line weights, and this inner thickness could be thinner. And it helps you actually differentiate multiple geometries from each other, because you're highlighting the outline of it, right? And the next thing I did was to make the stairs or secondary details as light as possible. So these parallel lines could be thinner, these could be thinner. And one important thing I added was to make this building dotted, because we want to show information behind it. So it's kind of treating it as like a ghost, right? We will be doing this line weight or this line style to this building in this view, and when we do it in the opposite way, we're going to do it to this taller building as well, because we want to show information behind it, so we need to make sure that it's dotted. Yeah. This one? This one. So that's what I'm doing in the next step. Basically, so I'm going to do the same type of manipulation. I want to bring like shadows to overlap with my line drawing, so that I can add depth to my drawing, right? So this will get some nice shades. I could hatch the background as well as the ground that is cut, so I can make the ground black. And I can add silhouettes to convey the information about scale, and maybe some of the walls I can treat them with some surface. So I made them, in my case, with a hatch with parallel lines. But again, I showed you some references. You could also make them black. If they would look nice as well. Like these, if there's a main wall, you can highlight it as black, right? And make sure black and black doesn't overlap. So you can just space them out a bit. Yes, yes. So I would say keep it consistent. Yeah, I mean, for instance, what I could do is also maybe hatch these surfaces of these doors as black, and the top surface of these as black, right? So it will space out the black hatches as well as highlight those geometries. So I mean, if that's kind of the main feature of my design, I could make that type of graphic decision. But in this drawing, I mainly used two of them. I did one kind of a carpet type of hatch for the ground, for the site, and I did these parallel lines for these walls, and I'll show you how you can create these in Illustrator as well. Like you can actually create your own swatches for filling in different surfaces. Okay, so we're going to do something like this today. So it's actually pretty straightforward what we are going to do. So if you remember in our viewport, we have different orthographic drawings right here, and I got set view. I have plan, top, bottom, left, right, front, back, perspective, 2-point perspective. Perspective being this kind of view where everything is projected to the viewer, right? So everything is kind of like we are getting a vanishing point basically. Now instead what I want to do is go to view, set view. We have isometric option as well. So I'm going to go to isometric, and I'm going to investigate how these views look like, and maybe find one that I think the drawing or the building kind of is clearly displayed. So I'm going to start with northeast. So this is what I get in northeast, right? And this is kind of an isometric viewport now. And I'm going to click on this geometry here, and then go to visibility, and hide that object. So if you click on this turned off light bulb, you will be able to hide it. So I'm kind of thinking if we drafted our project from this view, this will be what we will be seeing, right? These are kind of the main elements of our project. And then I'll probably make that building dashed. So this could be a nice view basically to make, right? We only have 4 options. Huh? Yours is distorted. You can actually distort these. You could, if you hold orbit, you could actually orient them to different views. So you could make them like this. You can make them like that. If you right click here, go to viewport properties. The default perspective view is this, right? So if you click on perspective, hit OK. This is the perspective view where there are 2 vanishing points, right? So this geometry is vanishing this way, this geometry is vanishing that way. So in parallel view, if you go to viewport properties, turn this into parallel. The drawing is flattened, right? So now the vanishing points are gone. So everything is projected to an infinite vanishing point. That's actually how it works. So think of the perspective where there's a point there where the geometries are being projected to. In parallel projection, that point is at the infinite. So everything is like projected to like an infinite location. So that's how they appear parallel. And I'm actually going to play with. You can actually change these camera options, but I think we'll be fine if you set these to be. I think we'll be fine if you set them to be the default. I think it should be okay. So if you go to view, set view, isometric, northeast, this is the view I'm going to draft. Right? Huh? So go to view, set view, isometric, and choose one of the isometric views. I mean, actually want you to do 2 of these drawings. So what you could do is just go to the isometric options and just iterate through them, like go through them and see which view captures the project the best, right? So in mine, this would be a good fit. Probably the other view would be okay as well. So if I go to set view, this was northeast. If I do northwest, this is kind of the drawing I showed you. This is kind of this one, right? This angle. I didn't change that. it basically enables you to relocate the camera at a different XYZ and set up a target. You don't have to mess with those. If you want to orient your viewport, just use panning tool. Don't orbit it so that you don't change or tilt the angle. And what you also want to make sure is go to viewport properties, make sure the rotation is 0. So that the vertical lines are parallel. Yes, that's what I want. Say, I go back to the northeast, and what do I want to show here mostly? I want to show these things that are happening on this surface, right? So if I use my orbit, I'm just doing right click. I want to just tilt this drawing just a bit to find an angle where I could show more detail. Right? I'm just going to show you the opposite of what I'm trying to do. So like if this drawing was like this, I wouldn't be showing all of these details clearly. Right? So I want to orient my view towards the facade as much as possible so that I can show more of these details. Right? So I'm kind of tilting it a bit so we could show more information on this side. Okay? I have a building here, right, that I just hid. So what I'm going to do is make 2D twice. So I'm going to make 2D to everything here, and then I'm going to bring that building and make 2D only that building and overlap everything with each other. So I'm going to and make sure you don't have these curves. I have some curves that I use to model this thing. If you want to get rid of them, you can type in select CRV. CRV is select curves basically, so you can grab all the curves in your file. Select curve. I did SLE CRV, select curve. Hit enter. So you could just hide every curve. And then I do hide. Hit enter. And then I want to grab everything that I see and then type in make 2D. Actually, let's create two layers. Let's create ISO visible and ISO dashed. Let's make this magenta. Okay, something like this. So I type in make 2D to this view, select everything, and then I want to do visible lines to ISO visible. I don't want to do maintain source layers. I don't think it's needed. So let's say OK. Yeah. And I basically get my drawing. I didn't choose any of them. Just keep them open. So we just get like a single line weight drawing. So these are all in one layer basically. I put it in a layer. I put it to ISO visible. Huh? I did current view so that it's pasted in top view, because we are looking at in a isometric view. We won't be able to put it in that view, right? It has to be put on top view or side view or front or left. So that's why just select current view, and Rhino will put it in top view as a line drawing. Then the next thing is select this guy here. Select this geometry. And then what we want to do is make 2D to that one in the same viewport. In this viewport. Actually, let me show you one more thing. Let's say you set up your drawing to be at this angle and you don't want to lose it, right? What you want to do is you can store that viewport. So if you right click to this viewport, go to set view, named views, you can hit save as and type in ISO 1. That viewport will be saved. So even if you mess up your viewport by using orbit or panning or something else, you could always go back to this view. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. So you can, like, let's say, distorted the view. You can right click here, go to set view, ISO 1. It will be oriented back to whatever that setting you confirmed to be your drawing at, right? So again, right click, set view, go to named views, hit save as, and just give it a name. I did ISO 1. So I'm going to set up another isometric view and rename it as ISO 2. So I can always go back and forth to these drawings. Yeah, I could go back to any view. So I'm basically creating a custom viewport, right? So it will be added here as an option to choose. So we have top, bottom, front, perspective, isometric. This is a named custom view that I just created, which basically puts the camera and the target and the alignment at this angle. Now the other one I want to do is, we're missing this building, so I'm going to choose this building and type in make 2D again. And I want to put this one to ISO dashed, and I want to show hidden lines. Okay? And you can choose hidden lines to go to ISO dashed as well. Hidden tangents, ISO dashed. We don't have any clipping planes, so that's okay. We don't even have tangents, so we're just going to get hidden lines and visible lines. So you just put them to ISO dash. So I created another dash layer. I'm going to choose current view. I'm going to hit OK. Huh? The other light bulb, show objects. Now I got this building drafted in my top view, and what I'm going to do is type in move, turn on my object snap, and put this right in place, right? So it's going to be located right there. So I can basically do make 2D multiple times and overlap or overlap drawings or geometry in the line drawing. Yeah. Select just these. Yeah, the select curve was to hide the drafting curves I had. So I have some curves. You could basically do select curve. Put them in a layer and lock that layer. You could do that. But these are also curves, right? So they're like drafting lines. So I can lock these. Type in select curve. These are the ones I want to get rid of, because if you have curves in like a drawing you want to do make 2D, you will also draft those curves, and you don't want to. You just want to draft the curves from solid blocks, like solid objects. Okay? So I have now an outline for my drawing. So let's look into that drawing a bit. Okay, so let's see if there are any mistakes, anything that we need to fix. So basically, I'm going to go around a bit. For instance, the stair risers and the landing was modeled with separate objects, and that's why we are getting these edges here, right? But this edge shouldn't actually exist, because it is a continuous surface with the landing. So I need to delete these because they are actually connected surface. So I need to go in and do a little bit of cleaning up. So these will be deleted. So I'm also like checking for other mistakes. So I go around here. I'm missing some lines here on the other side. I'm not sure if you guys see that. So this landing line is missing. So I'm going to grab this guy, type in copy, and make a copy of it here. And then you can do fillet, radius 0, and then you can join these guys, right? So you basically you can also draft geometry. Now in this case, this line shouldn't exist, this line shouldn't exist as well, but I'm missing here, which is an edge I want to maintain. So I could also do trim. It's the same thing as cleaning up my drawing, right? So I could just like clean up these connections, these joints. So I would recommend you to do this before you bring your drawing in Illustrator. And if you are missing something that is minimal, you could just do that in Illustrator afterwards. Like here, these two surfaces are joined, so I could do trim, get rid of that one. So this reads as like one continuous surface. These guys need to be joined. These guys need to be joined because they are they're a connected surface, right? Okay, and I think this looks good. Now the next thing I want to do is orient this to a 23 by 23 sheet. So I'm modeling in inches, so I could just draw a 23 by 23 square. And then I want to place this guy inside of it. And what I want to do first is use scale to get this drawing to the right dimension. So let's take a measurement from our site model. So basically the width of our site model was 30 inches. So what I could do is do scale, select this drawing, and then scale this edge to be 30. Right? Actually, let me hide these things. Scale. Because it's a line drawing. Because it's a line drawing. So when I do 30 here, if I take a measurement of this edge, it should be the same. Oh, because it's depending on the viewport, like how far I'm from the drawing, right? So it's yes, it is, but I mean, I see what you're saying. I don't think there's an option to maintain. You want to maintain the actual dimension, right? So you want it to be like a. I guess it should, but it doesn't. Because it still uses a camera. I think that's the problem. It uses a camera with parallel projection. So when you go to an orthographic view, this is more accurate. So most of the stuff we did was from these views, so it's more accurate. But from this, I don't think it works the same way. But I see what you're saying. There's no other option, make 2D command either. So you basically set up like a distance to the model and just do make 2D. So you have to work with what you get basically as drafted lines. Okay? This one? So if you want to place this guy here, I basically just did make 2D to that individual building. So when you do make 2D, yeah, so let me go back to my view. So I did make 2D. I just selected this guy, and I'm basically only doing that as make 2D, and I want to bring the hidden lines as well. Okay, and then I hit OK, and I basically get that cube drafted. Now I could actually move that in place. So I already scaled my drawing, but you could also place it there, right? And let's say you're missing something you want to bring again, you could just select the stairs, make 2D, and bring it and overlap it with some reference geometry as well. You could do that again. I actually forgot to clean these edges. So I'm going to do trim again. I'm going to choose these guys and clean these edges. Let's do that. This will be joined. This line we don't need. Now let me see something. If I do scale, .4 13 inches. It's slightly off, like there's a little bit off. Yeah. This is supposed to be 21. $60 to $30. Let me see. It's the same. Yeah, just scale, it just changes. I mean, these are not basically, I want them to actually be in scale. Let me see the one I have here, if I'm missing something. This guy is 8 and a 7 by 14. No, I don't think I did it in scale. So probably you don't have to do it in scale as well. So just like try to compress it so that you just put it in the square somehow, right? So I would just select the line drawing you have, and what you want to do is draw a 23 by 23. This is going to be your artboard, right? And just you want to locate this drawing somewhere here and then scale it down, so that you kind of have partially the site, partially the building. I mean, you want the building to be as central to the drawing as possible, and you want it to be as large as possible. So something, let's say, no, it doesn't have to be in scale. Let's do it like this, right? And I did this, then I'm just going to do it in another operation. I went in with trim, and I trimmed all the stuff that is sticking out. So I cleaned this up and prepared like a template for Illustrator, basically. So I cleaned these edges. So basically I'm going to hatch this part as black, right? So I can delete this line now. So this will be a black hatch because it's ground, right? And this is going to be background, so I extended this line. So I typed in extended this guy and deleted this guy. So this will be one hatch, this will be another hatch, and then I could do my styling on my drawing. 23 by 23 is the artboard size we have in Illustrator. 23 by 23 is square. Yeah, you scale it down to fit it in. Yeah, configuration, like my model is pretty clean, so I actually don't have much issues, but I'll try to just show you. Let's go to viewport layout, do 3 viewports, and let's say this is my top. This is the drawing I want to clean up, and here I could set the actual view. And I can look at the geometry here and then see what I need to clean up here, right? Like look at the situations with if everything is drafted correctly. So here I clean these up because I mean they're modeled with separate objects, but they are basically, these surfaces are flush, so you want to join them. Okay. One thing that is worth mentioning. Let's say I have 2 things intersecting like this. When you're doing solid modeling, let's say this is the situation you have. I'm going to make another one and just show you what the difference is when you do make 2D. So let's say this guy is modeled correctly, so this face doesn't intersect with the other one, it's actually stopping on this face. Whatever you see in the display is what you will get in make 2D, right? So this edge I will see when I do make 2D, but here I wouldn't, because 2 solids are intersecting, they're not sharing an edge. Does everybody see this detail? So this guy is not modeled correctly. So even if you're missing like a tolerance, you won't get this edge plotted. So, like, I'm going to do make 2D here, and when we look at that drawing, no, because it's a solid intersection. Make 2D doesn't do that. It looks at whatever the viewport display is doing. So this is what I get when I do make 2D. So you can see that I'm missing all the edges here, right? Because this guy didn't intersect. This was the situation I had in 3D model. This is the way it should be correctly modeled, the one on the left. So they're sharing an edge and a surface here, so you get these outlines. But here it's intersecting. So I mean, if you have something like this, what you could do is you can look at the 3D and then try to draft it here, right? So this will be trimmed. And then you can grab onto a parallel line here and then do fillet to this edge. So you can basically connect or plot these edges. If it's too problematic, I mean, you can do it also this way. If it's too problematic, you could type in intersect command, and you could intersect these 2 geometries. And once you do that, it will give you all the intersection as an outline. So you will get curves there, right? And now if I do make 2D, I would actually get those curves, but I will still probably have to do some cleanup. So this is the second one I get. So I get actually the right situation. So I did intersect on the top one. I didn't do intersect on the bottom one, so I had to manually draft it. I'll wait for you to draft your drawings. This guy was like not drafted correctly, right? Because this is not correctly modeled. This is correctly modeled. So these guys are sharing the surface edge, and these are just butting into each other. So when you do make 2D, you would actually be missing these edges here, right? Does everybody see that? You'll be missing these edges. So when you want to draft them, let's say you want to salvage this drawing still, you could still draft them. If you copy this line, like anything that will go vertical, they will be parallel. So the lines, you can just use the existing lines from the axis. So you could just grab this guy to find this edge. I can grab this line to find this edge at the intersection, so you can turn on the intersection, put one here, right? So that's all I need actually. Then I can do fillet these two, and this guy. That will be that geometry. So I could also draft it in 3D, like as a 3D line drawing, by just grabbing on to these lines, because everything is parallel. Ready? I want you to select your drawing. You're not ready? Alright. So we went to right click, set view, named views, and just hit save as and give it a name. So I did ISO1. So it basically stores this viewport so that I can keep going back to it if I want to use something from it. Yeah. Yes, you will lose it. So you have to. That's why we have to save it. So basically, let's. No. No. Yeah. I was going to, but it's really trivial. It's not necessary because you can grab this whole thing and scale it to fit 23 by 23 in Illustrator. We're not making a line drawing on scale. Does that make sense? It could be anything. Just draw a square and just like trim the edges, and then we could just like scale it to fit the Illustrator template. It's fine because we're going to change line weights, add everything. Yeah, it's just a square. It's just a square. So when you go to view, set view, isometric, any type of view you set up here, northeast, northwest, whatever, it's fit to the isometric angles. And when you do make 2D, it will be up to scale. But when we start tilting them, we are changing the angles, so we are losing the scale, right? So that's why I wasn't able to get the measurements. Huh? Tilting them how? Like tilting it this way or that way, because the projection is getting less and less.
I understand, but when we were doing that in the
Huh?
were we doing that during the make 2D process?
We did it actually. We kind of distorted it. So the right way would be to keep the isometric as is, the angles. So the four views. So let's say this guy, and when you do make 2D, you get this drawing. I think so. And if you measure here, this edge is 24 something, but doesn't matter. If you do scale, make this, make.
We're not doing a scale in Illustrator, doesn't matter anyways, right?
Huh?
We're not doing these in scale.
No, but I'm gonna get to that. So I did 30 here. So this is 30 now. This is 60. This is up to scale, right? This is actually a correct drafted drawing. My wall is also 21, 13 by 21.
What if we scale ours the way we did it squared?
It won't work because we tilted them.
So it's still
So I was thinking whether we should tilt them, but when we tilt them, we are losing the scale because we are distorting the projection angle.
But if you didn't tilt them, you're fine.
If you don't tilt them, you could still draft it in scale. So the reason why I'm saying that is because if I draft it in this scale, then I can do the 1/8 inch equals 1 foot like conversion. And my isometric will be up to scale, right? So you could technically draft it 23 by 23 and place your drawing inside and like make it into a precise drawing basically. You can even write scale under it if you wanted. Okay? I actually did this one that way, I think.
so once you get that
No.
so we just take it as it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Does that make sense to everybody? What happened? Like, basically, when we set up this isometric view using the Rhino template, isometrics, when you make 2D to this view, the drawing is still will be up to scale. Like the measurements will be still precise. But if I start tilting this, you can see that the projection or the actual geometry lines that I'm seeing, they're being distorted or shortened. So I'm losing actually the precision, right? I'm maybe getting more of the line geometry, but I'm losing the measurements. So I think on the assignment sheet I did say 1/8 inch equals 1 foot, because that actually gives you a nice drawing that fits to 23 by 23, and that's how I made it. So I stick to these views actually. View, set view, isometric to these. Okay? So it's fine. It's fine the ones you made. Let's use them. Let's bring them to Illustrator because I want to show you next steps. When you do the second one, you stick to these views. Huh? That's what I'm saying. So let me do this again. I apologize. Let me do it again. So I basically set up to northeast. I did make 2D. I chose this guy. Make 2D. These are the visible lines, right? And then I didn't bring this guy in. And then make 2D to that one again. I did show hidden lines. So that gives me this guy. Now these have to be in one layer, so that will be ISO visible. And this guy fits right in there. Right? Then what I did was I scaled everything. I know the site width is 30 inches, so I scaled this to be 30 inches. When I do that, this is 30 inches, this is 60 inches. My wall is 13 by 21. So I have a drawing that is up to scale in all 3 views, 3 angles. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing basically. So basically, this drawing is the same dimension as your physical model, right? Which is 1/4 inch equals 1 inch, 1 foot. And what I did to it was scale it down by 50%, 0.5, and this actually fits well onto your 23 by 23, and it will be 1/8 inch equals 1 foot scale. Okay? Yeah. For feet, if yours is in feet, so I'm doing the same thing here again, just quickly one more time. Make 2D to everything visible, and I'm putting them to visible layer. And then the hidden building, I'm going to make that as well, and I'm going to show hidden lines option and put that to dashed. And when I switch the top view where my drawings are placed, this guy would be located right here. right? So then what I did was, I'm doing it in inches, but basically our model was drafted in 1/4 equals 1 foot. So this edge has to be 15 to be 1/8 inch equals 1 foot. So this edge has to be 15 and this edge has to be 30. And then my main wall has to be 6.5 by 11.5, I think. 10.5. So basically half of the dimensions we had. Then I'm placing this inside a 23 by 23 inch artboard, so that this drawing is kind of in scale. So the placement you should think of is basically you want to place it in such a location. You could also use these corners for alignment. So basically the drawing could fit here on this edge, and maybe it fits, let's do perpendicular, it fits here on this edge. So it's kind of like I'm kind of estimating the black poché I'm going to add here and the background fill I'm going to add. So it's kind of centralizing this line drawing, and then everything else kind of I'm optimizing the hatches around it. And then I'm going to trim everything outside this drawing, and then resolve some of the corners. So basically there's going to be a black poché here, so I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to delete these edges as well. And this edge I'm going to extend and delete. So there will be background fill here. This is the park. There will be a black fill here because it's underground. And that's kind of the site. And let me see if I'm missing any geometry. I'm doing a little bit of cleanup on my line drawing. And let's do it here too. Alright, so I'm going to export once this drawing is ready. You're going to choose it, export selected, Adobe Illustrator, ISO 1, save. And this is the conversion. It's 1:1 because we already drafted it into 23 inches, right? So when we open in Illustrator, we want it to fit to the artboard perfectly. So for my inch model, it will be 1:1. If it's in feet, you will have to do some conversion as well. So 92 would become 23 inches. So I think it's 1/8 inch equals 1 foot conversion you have to apply. No, 1/4 equals 1 foot. Sorry. So because if you're modeling in feet, your artboard, the rectangle, the square you're drawing here, is 92, right? So that's 4 times the 23 inches. So your conversion will be 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. So 92 feet will become 23 inches when you open Illustrator. And I'm going to upload this file as well. So in case you don't have the tools I'm working with, I will let you use my Illustrator file.
What happens if you feel you can't really get like an interesting view at half scale?
Interesting view to half scale.
Yeah, I feel like it's an architect structure.
Did you look at all the 4 sides?
What that should fit in there? Is that your box?
Yeah. I mean, I've already scaled it. This is 30, this is
30 by 43 is half.
where is it? This is
So I'm going to show you a few new things in Illustrator, but I'm going to do a few things. The first of all, we are going to make this building dashed. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to choose the dash layer. By clicking here, I'm choosing all the geometries that belong to this layer. Then I'm going to change the stroke. I'm going to go to the stroke here, or you could double click here. I'm going to change the stroke to be black. So the line color changes to black. And then I'm going to come down here, click on dashed, and make it 2 by 4. This is the stroke. So if this is closed, go to Window, Stroke. Window, Stroke. If you're not even seeing that, what you could do is choose this and go left here, and then choose 2 by 4. Hit I for eyedropper, and then click here. It will get the 2 by 4 stroke setting. It will also get the line weight, which is 0.25, so you could change that to be 1. So the dashed line weight is 1, and the spacing is 2-4 gap. So that's basically how we're converting the ISO dashed. Okay. Alright. Next off, I'm going to lock that layer. Once you're done with this conversion, just lock that. Now, what I want to do is make all the visible lines a bit lighter, and then show you what you need to make darker, or how you need to make, how you need to go about making line weights, applying line weights in ISO drawings. So basically, I'm going to choose all the visible lines and change their line weight to be 0.5. You can choose geometries through the visible layer, make it 0.5. Now, when we are highlighting geometry, we are highlighting the outlines of it, right? So in this case, if I want to highlight this wall, the main wall of your design, what I need to choose is the outer lines. So these lines will need to be thicker, right? So if I zoom in, this line needs to be thicker. So I choose that. I'm going to make it 2. Okay? I'm going to choose this one. Make it 2 as well. So it basically adds, like I'm highlighting the corner. Yeah. Because that's what I was saying, like we are just highlighting the outline of a geometry, and then we're going to go inside when we apply the line weights. So that's kind of, that's how I'm applying a visual hierarchy. So that will highlight that wall in axonometric drawing. Sure. So I'll do this side as well. I'm going to choose this line and this line, and you can use the eyedropper to copy properties. So you could just apply an outline like that, right? So if I want to do it here, I will choose this line and this line. Use the eyedropper, copy these properties. You can just select this line and this line, hold shift to do multiple section, and then give it a line weight. Yeah. Because that's how it works visually and graphically. Like that's how it highlights better. So you just find whatever the most outline is. So it's almost like the object is applying a back shadow, like dropping a shadow in the back. Here? Well, it's bringing my wall to the front, right? So let me show you this again. The outer geometry is darker. The inner is lighter. You guys see? Huh? So it's basically it basically shows the outline of the geometry better. And that's how I actually like this style. That's why I'm showing you. The ones in the back? So, in principle, I think I finally understand your question. In principle, if there is nothing the geometry is joined to, there is no joinery, it's a thicker line. Okay? But these lines join with the floor, so they are thinner. Right? Same as these corners. So there are joints there, so they are basically thinner. So when there's joinery, we are leaving them as thinner. And when it's inside the geometry as well, we are leaving them thinner. But when there is no joinery, and that's kind of the outline of the wall, we are leaving them thicker. Does that help in principle? Does that make sense in principle? Or is it hard to follow? Is it difficult? I mean, you only have to do it to a few geometries, not everything. It's just to highlight some main elements of your design. So in this case, I only did it to these walls, if you can see. Right? I mean, this guy, I also applied it here. But only to the outer, most outer outlines. And then the inner lines, I left them here. Yes, I did it to kind of, I'm tracing the outline of that element. I'm tracing the outline of this guy as if it's not connected to anything else. So, like if I would do it here, this is how I would go about it. Like this guy, this surface, I want to separate it from like the back, right? So I would just select these edges and then make them thicker. Also, I need to make this line consistent so I can apply it there. And this can actually, you can leave it lighter. So you can just like highlight that. If you make this lighter, then it's not going to read as one single thing. It's going to like blend in with the other stuff that is overlapping there. So that's kind of how if it differentiates. Yeah. I would say main elements like large surfaces, like these smaller elements, I wouldn't highlight them. Okay? Just like main elements, main wall. It's going to make it visually. It's going to make it too busy. I would say like these walls, main walls, need to be thicker than the rest. Also, these openings you can highlight. So, for instance, this guy. Right? So it just like makes it consistent. And whenever you're applying different line weights, always distance yourself from your drawing a bit to see that if you're reading those geometries clearly, right? So in this case, since I applied this outline, look at what I'm seeing. I'm reading this wall better than everything else, right? So I'm kind of bringing it like more visually to the front. So that's kind of the intention, basically. So when you trace the outline of that geometry, it kind of pops to the front of the line of the drawing a bit better. So same thing here. So I'm reading that as a single thing, single entity. I'm reading this as a single. Huh? I don't want the stairs to be too busy. Maybe the outline, like the way I did it here at the bottom. So it kind of connects with this cut. Okay? So I could also do it here. The beams? These guys? So these guys, basically we could highlight this one. Because that belongs to that surface. Right? It belongs to that surface. These vertical ones. So the vertical ones we could do, you could select these edges and make them one. So it's a bit thinner. Right? So basically, again, the outer lines I'm choosing and then making them a bit thicker. Does everybody see which ones I'm selecting? I'm basically selecting the outer lines of the geometry, and these corners I'm leaving them lighter. I already made all the lines thinner, so I don't have to make any other line weights. I'm only using 2, 1, and 0.5. So everything, yeah. Yeah. I kind of connected this one. I mean, let's see how it looks when we do this too. You could also do these. Right? It's kind of the outline of it. If you have a condition like this, where the line comes in and overlaps, you need to also go back to the stroke option. So choose this line, choose the stroke option, and then look at the cap. Right now we are using round cap. I want you to turn that to butt cap, so that you will limit the line weight there. Okay, so the line doesn't extend as much. Same thing I'm going to do here. I'm going to do this as thicker as well. So see where I'm selecting the lines. I'm selecting these two, and then I'm selecting this guy. Using eyedropper, I'm going to make them thicker. And I'm going to make that line consistent, so I'm going to add these to be thicker as well. We could also do it to this opening. So choose this surface, this outline. Apply one. I would also do it to the bottom edge, because I think it will make it look nicer. So it kind of highlights that geometry. And similar thing here. Also make the sight outline darker. So you get something like this. So basically the outline kind of encloses itself, wraps itself around. Do you see this hierarchy here? So this is 2, this is 1, this is 0.5. Right? So I'm selecting the outer lines of these louvers and making them thicker. So I'm choosing these lines. We're just using 3. I'm using 2, 1, and 0.5.
So it really doesn't matter if the beam is like behind.
It's
Still, if you choose
it's like a backdrop, right? It's like a backdrop. This guy's in front of this one, so I'm kind of highlighting the edges of it.
I'm asking you if the beams are behind that wall. Let's say behind the center wall that you have. Would you consider doing a 2 on those, or would you still keep it at 5?
I would keep it lighter. So I already highlighted this wall, these yes. So this you just have to do this to like a few like main components of your design. Trust me, you don't want to just add 2 everywhere. Like that's why I only added it here. I'm highlighting this guy, I'm highlighting this guy, these 2 and this one, and the rest I'm just going to make them lighter. So that's how I go from out to in when I'm doing axonometric line weights. So I go from the overall outlines and I'm recursively going in. So I'm just like, establishing a hierarchy like that. So when I look at it from far away, I only see these main features, and then I can go in and zoom into the inner details, like these vertical louvers, and then that will be the second hierarchy, so that they'll be 1 punto in a line weight, right? So to show you, I think I need to do this before I do this exercise. Let me see. So this is what I want to draft, right? Huh? Make 2D. No hidden lines. This is the ISO. Okay, I'm going to export it. And bring it here. So again, how do I go about applying line weights? Everything, let's start making them black. So strokes, choose black. Okay? Now, the outline I'm going to make thicker. So I come in here. All these lines should be thick. So I'm kind of tracing the continuity and consistency of it. So make this 2. And since this is the wall is connected to them, I'm going to keep the same line weight. So I'm going to keep extending the line weight. So this is all 2. This is 1. I'm going to make this one the same line weight. Well, this guy is inner detail, so let's make them thinner. So these guys could be 0.5, which will add more depth. Same as here, right? So these could be 0.5. Okay? How does that read? That is good? Is that clear? Like, that's kind of the logic. And I know you have a lot of intersecting elements. Maybe it's making you confused, like, to make decisions. What I want you to do is make it as simple, as logical as possible. Just outline as much main volumes as possible. You don't have to, like, be super, like, dinty about it. Right? Because we are not doing something as simple as this. We have some more complex geometry. And if I were to actually show you, I would probably like divide a lot of the edges to apply them different line weights as well. But we won't have time to do it. So just highlight main elements, main features, just main outlines. Look at the overall geometry and see, okay, maybe this guy could be a thicker line weight, right? And then here, maybe these guys are repeating, so let's make them thinner. In hierarchy, let's bring them 1 level down. So only 3 line weights I want you to use. 2, 1, and 0.5. Alright? And And always zoom out from your drawing. Always zoom out and see if you're seeing geometries clearly. That's kind of the logic. If you go to the stroke, it's this cap option. So by default we have round cap for all the lines. I'm changing some of them to butt cap so that the lines are not extended. We do it in Rhino. So for instance, let me find a spot where I would like to do that. So for instance here, guys. So I'm bringing down 2, right? And this guy's a consistent line that is 1. But what I want it to be is, I want it to be 2 here and then 1 all the way down, right? Because that's kind of an edge. Like I want to make, it all overlaps with the wall behind. So I want to see 2 here and then 1 here. So I basically need to break this guy in here. Okay? Does everybody see that? So that there's like consistent line weight here. So I choose this element, go under the eraser tool, click and hold. Scissors tool is over there. You could also use C4 shortcut, right? So select this, C4 shortcut, and then click on this point. What it will do is it will divide that into 2 line segments. It will divide that into 2 line segments. So you can now choose the upper one, use eyedropper, and apply this line weight. So now there will be consistent line weight here and there, right? So if I zoom out, that outline will be consistent. Yeah. Before I leave, let me show you something else. I'll cover this again on Monday. But what we are going to do, next week, where is it? Okay, you guys, I'll show this.